Hello dear viewers watching RTD's English News Edition. Here are our headlines for this evening. This morning, the head of state presided over the work of the Council of Ministers at the Presidential Palace. On the international news, the climate, 2 weeks of action punches around the world. Thank you for joining us in our newsroom. Under the presidency of His Excellency Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, President of the Republic, Head of Government, the 16th session of the Council of Ministers was held this Tuesday, October 8, 2019. The following texts were reviewed and approved. The first question, a draft decree establishing a monitoring and evaluation mechanism for priority public policies in the Prime Minister's office. The purpose of the draft decree is to create a mechanism within the Prime Minister's office for monitoring and evaluating the performance of priority public policies. For a better involvement in the achievement of national development objective, it is necessary to give a stronger impetus to public policies, allowing a diligent execution of the reforms, projects and priority programs. It is within this framework that the Priority Public Policy Implementation Monitoring Unit is to be set up, which is a mechanism to facilitate the implementation of public policies and to ensure the monitoring and evaluation of their performance indicators. And this new entity aims to bring together the information systems and performance monitoring and evaluation system of projects, programs and other activities set up to the sectoral ministerial departments. This text sets out the missions and operating procedures of this harmonized framework for the monitoring evaluation of public policies. The adoption of this draft decree will contribute to the consolidation of results-based management in the public administration and improve the services provided to the citizens. It also aims to facilitate the proper articulation between the sectoral objectives and the general orientations of the strategy for accelerated growth of and employment promotion. For the Ministry of Communication in charge of Postal and Telecommunications, second question, draft decree on the new tariffs for the 4G network. The purpose of this draft decree is to implement the new tariffs for the 4G network as part of the demand, as well as the telecommunication resources. A drastic reduction in the tariffs for the telecommunication and internet services is proposed. This project aims to improve the offers of internet and telephone services by proposing new rates for the 4G network. These rates reduction will apply to both individuals and businesses for which special offers are presented. The objective of this project is to improve the quality of services for users and to combat the digital divide and maximizing access to the network for all Djiboutians in order to take full advantage of the benefits of the ICT. The Ministry of Budget, third question, a draft order allocating 2 parcels of land located in Balbala National Road. The purpose of the draft decree is to allocate to the Urban Rehabilitation and Social Housing Agency 2 parcels of land with a total surface area of 43,295 square meters located in Balbala, intending to increase the supply of social parcels. Ministry of Labor in charge of administrative reform, fourth question, draft decree granting derogation from the legal working time of employees. Fifth question, draft decree laying down the implementation rules and conditions of the adjustment of weekly rest periods. The Ministry of Labor presented 2 draft orders. The purpose of the first project is to regulate the system of derogation from the legal working time of employees. In principle, the legal working time is set at 48 hours per week, but derogation from this principle may nevertheless exist in view of the volume and specific nature of the work performed by the worker. This draft therefore provides for the various types of derogation from working time, which may be temporary or permanent, and hours worked in excess of 48 hours are paid as overtime. The second project defines the modalities of execution and the conditions for the adjustment of the weekly rest period applicable to all employees. Weekly rest is part of the workers' rights. It must last for 24 consecutive hours plus the consecutive daily rest period of 12 hours. However, derogations from the weekly rest period are possible in order to take into account the concerns of companies in certain sectors of activity such as transport, retail, trade, establishment, hotels, restaurants, and etc. This project is part of a concern to improve the competitiveness of companies and to ensure their rights to the employees. The Minister of Urban Planning, Environment and Tourism reported on the participation of the President of the Republic in the World Summit of Heads of State on Climate Change held in New York on 23rd September 2019, during which the Head of State delivered an important speech on the actions and initiatives taken by the Republic of Djibouti to address the effects of climate change. The Minister of Higher Education and Research made a mission report on his working visit to Ankara from 30th September to 6 October 2019. As for the Minister of Equipment and Transport, reported on his participation in the 40th session of the Triennial Assembly of the International Civil Aviation Organization, which was held from 24 September to 4 October 2019 in Montreal. The Minister of Muslim Affairs, Culture, Property made a mission report on his participation in the Pan-African Forum for the Culture of Peace. It held from 19 to 22 September 2019 in Angola. The Minister of Housing reported on his participation in the 36th session of the Council of Arab Ministers in charge of housing and urban development held from 2nd to 6 October 2019 in Dubai. In a statement made by the Commercial Director of Djibouti Telecom on the new pricing of the 4G network, he explained that the draft decree discussed this morning at the 60th session of the Council of Ministers on the new pricing of the 4G network is a very important project for the people of Djibouti. The project is being implemented by Djibouti Telecom in partnership with the Ministry of Information in charge of Postal and Telecommunications. Through this network, the foundation wishes to provide quality services to citizens in such developed countries. One of the new services offered to citizens is a new internet package called Express with prices cuts, according to him. Djibouti mourns the death of one of its most brilliant public officials. Djibouti deplores the death of one of its most brilliant senior public officials, namely the Director General of the Poor and the younger brother of the President of the Republic, Saad Omar Gelle, died yesterday, Monday, early in the evening. The sad news spread like wildfire, triggering a collective horror and a huge sense of national loss. Peace to his soul. Saad Omar Gelle referred to the image of a masterpiece and an essential link in the management of one of our flagship development structures, the poor. He owed it to his employees for the professional dedication that characterized him and in the many skills he had acquired over his long career. Self-taught and keen in learning, he never counted the sacrifice to be made in order to acquire all the knowledge necessary to master the work related to his field of work. That is why, as an extra man, he went as far as the North Sea to learn the professions of the poor and willingly accepted to climb one by one with transparency and merit all the administrative levels of the poor up to the highest level of general manager. Beyond that, the late Saad Omar Gelle was far from being known only through the prims of the port of Djibouti. He was indeed estimated also for his generosity, his accessibility, and his accurate sense of this regard for the equal consideration and respect for all his fellow countrymen who approached him. The late Saad Omar Gelle, who died yesterday in Paris, where he had been receiving treatment for a few months, gave his last breath at the age of 69 at the end of a full life in terms of family, professional, and relationships. He leaves behind 2 widows and several children. His remains are scheduled to arrive next Thursday, where, in accordance with our holy religion, he will be the subject of a funeral, a prayer before a funeral ceremony. Following the death of the late Saad Omar Gelle, many messages of condolences were sent to the RTD. Prime Minister Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, the President of the National Assembly Mohammed Ali Hamed, expressed their deepest condolences to the President of the Republic, the family and relatives of the late Saad Omar Ghele. Also, the Secretary General of the RPP, Mr. Yas Moussa Douale, sent a message of condolences on behalf of the Executive Committee of RPP activists in his own name to the President of the Republic following the death of the late Saad Omar Ghele. Former Prime Minister Dileto Mohamed Dileto also extends his sincere condolences to the friends and relatives of the deceased. The Minister of the Presidency Ali Ghela Bakr, the Minister of Communication Mr. Radwan Abdullahi Badon, the Minister of Transport Mr. Musa Mohamed Ahmed, the Minister of the Region of Ali Sabeh Mr. Isman Ibrahim Roble, Minister of Employment, and Mr. Warsama Diriye, the Minister of Health, the Minister of Environment and Housing Mr. Mohamed Abdul Qadir Hindim, the Minister of Culture Mr. Mumin Hassan Barre, showing the pain of the family of the late Saad Omar Ghele, expressed their condolences to the President of the Republic, his family and friends, and the entire poor community. The Sultan of Gubat, Mr. Habib Mohammed Bako, addresses his condolences to the President on behalf of the population of the entire Dakhil region to the President of the Republic following the death of the late Saad Omar Ghele. The Minister of Energy, Mr. Yunus Ali Ghedi, the Secretary of State for Decentralization, Hamidou Mohamed Aramis, send your deepest condolences to the President of the Republic, the Mediator of the Republic, Dr. Qasim Issa Osman, the Chief of the Cabinet of the President, Mr. Mohammed Abdul Qadir, the Director General of the INPH, Mr. Douali Said, the management and all the staff of the RTD, following the death of Mr. Saad Omar Ghele, brother of the President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Omar Ghele, the Executive Secretary of the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD, Ambassador Mahbub Maldin, extends his sincere condolences to His Excellency Mr. Ismail Omar Ghele and his entire family. The President of UPR, Mr. Ibrahim Shahim Dawood, addresses on behalf of all the militants in his own name his most heartfelt condolences to the President of the Republic, Mr. Ismail Omar Ghele, and the extended family. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. An important working and information exchange meeting was held at the premises of the Ministry of Social Affairs on Monday, December 7, giving the positive impact on the PNCF on the living conditions of the vulnerable households. The government has mobilized additional funds from donors to cover all households in extreme poverty, hence the extension of the PNCF, which aims to cover an additional 5,000 poor households in the interior regions with the support of the World Bank. For the identification and targeting of potential beneficiaries, it was essential to carry out field visits by region. The teams consisted of executives from the Ministry of Social Affairs and Solidarity and the State Secretariat for Decentralization, among others, but also from the Djibouti Agency for Social Development and the Djibouti National Institute of Statistics, as well as cartographers. The objective of the mission were mainly to communicate and inform the sub-prefectures as well as the community about the extension of the PNSF, but also to already constitute and list the potential assembly sites and pursue to their geolocalization. It was also necessary to identify existing basic socio-economic infrastructure by cluster site and locality. The Minister of Decentralization, Mr. Hamidou Mohamed Aramis, recalled that this program requires a lot of patience and a lot of assiduity. Secretary of State for Decentralization pointed out in his intervention that the implementation of this project requires the concerned team to demonstrate the required flexibility and endure difficulties. As for the Minister of Social Affairs and Solidarity, Mona Osman Aden also reaffirmed the government's commitment to make the PNCF the cornerstone of a social protection system adapted to the needs of the vulnerable communities in the country. The Minister of Social Affairs and Solidarity urged in her speech the executive of the implementation of this program from the two ministers to do their utmost to make it a success and reach the desired goals. The Secretary General of the Ministry of Labor in charge of administrative reform on Sunday sponsored the closing ceremony of a training course on entrepreneurship development organized by the Ministry of Labor in cooperation with the Center for this Statistical, Economic and Social Research of Training for Islamic Countries in the presence of the Director, National Institute of Administrative, the representative of the Center for Statistical, Economic and Social Research and Training for Islamic Countries, Awatif Mirwa, participated in the workshop. Representative various public service. In her speech, the Secretary thanked the General of the Center for Statistical, Economic and Social Research and Training Islamic Countries, expressing thanks to the Center. The topics raised on the program, as well as entrepreneurship. He also appreciated the opportunity of exchanging experiences with the experts from the Republic of Tunisia, affirming his personal endeavor implement a strategy aimed at development at all levels. The Ministry of Urban Planning, Environment and Tourism is organizing this morning a consultation workshop on the framework for the implementation of the Rio Conventions in Djibouti at the Sheraton Hotel. The objective of this workshop is to discuss and exchange with all the representatives present from the various ministries and institutions of the country on the three Rio Conventions, which are the Convention on Biological Diversity, the Convention to Combat Desertification, and the Framework Convention on Climate Change, in order to better address the various environmental challenges and improve efforts to implement the obligations of these conventions in the country. Were present at this workshop the Secretary General of the Ministry of the Environment, Director of the Environment and Development and Sustainable of the Executive of the Ministry of the Environment for Foreign Affairs, and Civil Society of the Ministry of Transport, Coast Gendarmeries, as well as Port Cert and Centralized Services. The Secretary General of the Ministry of the Environment, Mr. Dini Abdullah Omar, announced in his speech the importance of this workshop is to discuss and exchange with all the representatives present from the various ministries and improve efforts to implement the obligations of these conventions in the country. Colonel Zakaria Hassan Aden, Chief of Staff of the National Gendarmerie, received on Sunday a delegation from the ESF and explanations with Idris Mahmoud.
Zakaria Hassan Aden, Chief of Staff of National Gendarmerie, received on Sunday a delegation from East Africa in charge security. This delegation, led by Director Mr. Abdullahi Umar Bouh, was composed of Joint Chief of Staff Brigadier General Mr. Charles Radakubana and the head of African Peace and Security Mr. Deputy of Commission Dini Kiasimiri. The main objective of this visit to Djibouti was to access inside a facility of infrastructure and national gendarmerie with the view of organizing training section of Djibouti for 3 components of East African peace and security. Finally, they congratulate the Chief of Staff for colossal work had done to provide the institution of commissioned with infrastructure and training facilities in line with the standard and norm enforced to this field.
The new prefect of Art, Mohammed Sheikh Hassan, continues his outreach tour with the population. Thus, the prefect, accompanied by regional officials, visited the population living along the road corridor in Arte region. Discussions about the different services provided to the inhabitants of the remote areas. In Dakhil Region, Social Development Association held a workshop at the Dakhil Regional Council on Monday. Let's listen for more details.
Development Association held a workshop at the Dakhil Regional Council on Monday, 7 October 2019, to raise the visibility of action development project with the effect of climate change in two localities, Era and Dadahulu and Mulud sub-prefecture. The project is funded by Global Environment Facility microfinance programs, which aim to support the creation of global environmental benefit and protection of global environmental due to community and local solutions that complement with the aid of value of national and global action. The project requires involvement of all stakeholders. The installment with opening ceremony was marked by the representation of project followed by intervention. The workshop was closed with a skit presented by group on climate change and and adoption, the authority pay a warm tribute to associate and ask other associations to apply for and respond to call for proposal.
Contre la désertification et le changement climatique. Nous sommes fiers de la pratique que vous avez développée, de vos compétences. Il y en aura 2 autres. Vous êtes les premiers. Je vous dis, soyez les bienvenus.
On the international news, migrants, another tragedy in Lampedusa that took place on Sunday night off Lampedusa, Italy. At least 13 dead bodies were recovered after a boat sank, and about 10 people are still missing. The victims found are all women, some pregnant, and according to some witnesses, there are 8 children and other pregnant women among the missing. 22 people were also rescued. A few days ago, a ceremony was held to commemorate the tragedy of October 2013 when 360 people died of drowning. The people of Lampedusa mobilized again last week, calling once again for a strong action at the European level to put an end to these tragedies. Concerning the climate action, 2 weeks of punching actions around the world from Sunday, from Sydney to London to Cape Town, Rebellion, Extinction, environmental activists yesterday began 2 weeks of punching actions around the world to denounce government's inaction in the face of the climate crisis, leading to dozens of arrests. 2 weeks after Greta Thunberg's angry appeal towards leaders at the UN Extinction Rebellion, a movement born in 2018 in the United Kingdom that advocates civil disobedience, promised to wreak havoc in capitals around the world with actions first in New Zealand, in Australia, and then in Europe. And that's all for this edition. Thank you for being with us on the radio television of Djibouti. Have a good night.